right, math students. So the last lesson we talked about the discriminant. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It's what is underneath the square root in our quadratic formula. And we just talked about how to find that. So we find it by plugging in our values into the formula b squared minus 4ac. And then that discriminant tells us the number and type of solutions that that quadratic equation would have. So today we're looking at some other uses of the discriminant. So the first one I want to look at is that the discriminant tells us the number of x-intercepts in our graph. So you see on page 36 of your note packet, you're given an equation and it's graphed out for you. So like for this one, you see that there are two x-intercepts there. So the number of real solutions is the number of x-intercepts. So the discriminant will tell us how many x-intercepts the graph has. So let's look at that first example there. First, we're going to find the discriminant. So our A is 2, our B is -7, and our C is 3. And then we're going to plug in those values into our discriminant formula. And solve that. And you get the discriminant of 25. So the discriminant is 25, and if you look at your chart that we looked at last lesson, so this chart right here, if it's positive, which that's what we have, positive 25, then we're going to have two real solutions here. And it is a perfect square, so that means they're going to be rational. So two real rational solutions. That's what my discriminant is telling me there. And the number of real solutions is the number of x-intercepts. So two real solutions means the graph is going to have two x-intercepts. Let's try the next one. So I'm going to find my discriminant first by plugging it into the formula b squared minus 4 times A times C. Then we'll simplify that down. And you get the discriminant of 0. So 0, look at your chart again. If you have a 0 discriminant, that means there's one real solution. So discriminant of 0 means one real solution, which also tells me that the graph will have one x-intercept, which it does right here, one x-intercept. All right, let's do the last one. Plug it in and simplify. And you get the discriminant of -28. So a negative discriminant, when your discriminant is negative, that means there are no real solutions, no real solutions. Or you could say two non-real solutions. So that means the graph is going to have 0 x-intercepts. Because there's no real solutions, there's going to be no x-intercepts. So look at our graph. Here's the x-axis. It never crosses the x-axis. All right, so that's the first application of the discriminant. Let's go to the next page, page 37. All right, so we're down here. We did this yesterday. So learning target, I can interpret the discriminant. So now we're going to be given a story problem, and we're going to use the discriminant to answer the story problem here. So let's read it together. Rachel is about to serve and tosses a tennis ball straight up into the air. The height h of the ball in meters at a time t in seconds is given by h of t equals negative 5t squared plus 5t plus 2. And here's the question. This is what we're finding out. Will the ball reach a height of 4 meters? Height, they tell us, is that h. So h of t is 4. Is that possible for this ball in this given scenario of this quadratic equation? Will it reach 4? So your success criteria first, step number 1, is to determine the height. Determine the height, which they tell us is 4. So the height is 4, so h of t is 4. So we're going to substitute h of t for 4. We're going to set the expression equal to 4. So 4 equals negative 5t squared plus 5t plus 2. So now we have it set up for our specific scenario where the height is 4 meters. Now we're going to rewrite it into standard form. So standard form is when you set the equation equal to 0. So how do you do that? How do you get this equation where it's equal to 0? Well, you've got to move that 4 to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And I get 0 equals negative 5t squared plus 5t. And then 2 minus 4 is negative 2. All right, so now it's in standard form. Now we can find the discriminant. The discriminant is going to tell us if this height of 4 meters is possible. So to find the discriminant, we're going to label our A, B, and C, and then plug it into the formula b squared minus 4ac. So b is 5, so 5 squared minus 4 times a, negative 5, times c, negative 2, and then simplify that down. 25 minus 40 gives us a discriminant of negative 15. All right, so we're going to use our chart here. What happens when the discriminant is negative? The negative discriminant means there's no real solution to this quadratic formula. So is it possible to reach 4 meters? No, it is not a real answer. So what is the value of the discriminant? Tell us. We just used our chart. And then it told us that there are no real solutions. So a negative discriminant tells us that there are no real solutions. All right. So what is our answer? The answer is no. No real solutions means no, the ball will not reach 4 meters. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try the next one on your own. So the next one wants you to test 3 meters. Will it reach the height of 3 meters? So use the same equation here, same quadratic equation, but now we're testing, is it possible to reach 3 meters? Go ahead and try that. All right, let's check your work. So you would start by setting it equal to 3, replacing that height with 3. And then we're going to get it into standard form by setting it equal to 0. So subtract the 3 to both sides. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Now find your discriminant. And solve. B squared minus 4ac. Simplify that. And you get the discriminant of 5. So 5 is positive. Positive tells us that there are two real solutions. So yes, this is a possibility. Yes, the ball will reach 4 meters, or 3 meters, sorry. Yes, the ball will reach 3 meters. All right. Moving on to the next page, go ahead and turn to page 38. We're going to look at the last use of the discriminant. Okay, so I can use a discriminant to find a particular equation. So example 5 says, what values of b will cause 2x squared plus bx plus 18 equals 0 to have one real solution? Well, we're using the discriminant, that b squared minus 4ac, and in this scenario, there is one real solution. So if you look at your chart, one real solution, the discriminant has to equal 0. One real solution, discriminant is 0. So this one real solution tells us that the discriminant equals 0. And that's step 1 there, to determine the value of the discriminant. So in this case, in this problem, my discriminant equals 0. Now we're going to determine the values of a, b, and c. So a, b, and c. A equals 2, b equals b, and c equals 18, and our discriminant equals 0. So our formula is the discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac. Now we're going to take all this information gathered from steps 1 and 2 of your success criteria, and we're going to plug it in or substitute into our formula there. So discriminant is 0, b is b, so keep it as b squared, and then minus 4 times a times c. And now it's set up. Now we can simplify, so we're going to simplify this by doing negative 4 times 2 times 18. And now we can solve for b, because that was the whole goal here. That's what they were asking. What is the value of b? So solve for b here. Add 144 to both sides. So 144 equals b squared. How do you get rid of a squared? You take the square root. The square root of a square cancels out each other. And then the square root of 144 is plus or minus 12. And then that would be your final answer. B is either positive or negative 12. All right, go ahead, pause the video and try it number 5 here. Try that one on your own. All right, let's check your work. So in this problem, this quadratic has 2 non-real solutions. So non-real solutions means that our discriminant is negative. So 2 non-real solutions tells us that the discriminant is negative, or it's less than 0. It's a number smaller than 0. So here's my discriminant. And this needs to be less than 0. All right, now I can plug in my a, b, and c. And go ahead and plug that in. And now simplify it. And then solve for b. Take the square root of both sides to undo that square. All right, so b is less than plus or minus 10, or b is somewhere in between there. So I'm going to say negative 10 less than b less than 10. That would be your answer there. All right, that concludes the lesson for today. Now you're ready to do your practice work.